I've actually spent over $3,000 of actually learning. So basically over 3 grand. And I found basically a lot of data that doesn't exist on YouTube on how to actually develop your chess skills, how to get better at chess if you have no experience. And it got good. I'm making this video specifically for people who are complete beginners. So you have played for like a few games won, a few games lost. I assume that you're somewhere along the ELO ratings of 1000, a little bit below, a little bit above. But you're basically playing and you're stuck. You have no idea how to improve from that point. This video is for you. So you probably know already what you're doing. You know that you need to stop making one move blunders. You know that you need to stop making one mover mistakes. This video is going to help you stop that. So let's take a look shortly into 2 examples of blunders in games that happened, and basically we're going to then figure how you as a beginner are going to avert this problem basically to your advantage. So now the fact that beginners are making blunders is not going to really hurt you, it's going to help you. You're going to basically use it against others. So it's a normal game. Bishop to b5 is... Why is bishop to b5 a bad move? I won't disclose now, alright? Because you're a beginner, you don't really need to think about this. You need to first of all stop the major mistakes that happen, not the minor ones. Bishop to b5 happens, then black decides to do a move which is a little bit of a mistake. He decides to do pawn to e5. Why is this a mistake? You're having a pawn advantage and you just throw it away. It's literally that. You're having a pawn advantage, you gave now the pawn that you have back, and this one is alone. It's weak now. Okay, now I want you to think. You're right now black. You're in this exact position. What's the first move that comes into your mind? Now, black in this position made a blunder. Any move that doesn't recall moving the knight back, right, or somewhere forward is a blunder, right? In this position, black basically made the move bishop to g4. Black saw it only after you've made the move that you've done. He made bishop here and only then saw that his knight is under threat. And basically what happens is you've just lost a knight. So white took like this, okay, which is absolutely fine. Pawn takes, queen takes, rook takes, and then you take with a pawn like this. So white is just up an entire piece. But you need to understand this sort of blunder happens a lot, okay? And we're going to look into another example, and then we're going to understand how to stop it, because you already probably have heard in checks, captures, and threats. You already know about this stuff, but how do you actually apply this in a game? Okay, so looking at our second example, and again, this video is made for you particularly if you've just started to play the game of chess. If you've already been for a while now doing the game, it's less for you. So in here, white have made the move pawn to g3. Obviously, why? Okay, you need to make sure there's room for the king, because otherwise, well, checkmate. Okay, white have made the move. So now there's obviously a very clear threat, all right, for black, for the bishop. Something very similar. Black doesn't see it, all right? The move that black had made is pawn to f4. Black obviously shouldn't have done it, but the idea that black had is I'm going to then move my pawn here, and then I could move the rook and do the checkmate, basically. That's the idea that black had. But again, this doesn't work, because if you do this, right, and then I progress here, I, as white, could move the rook back. And that's what black missed. One side makes a move without thinking about what the other side can do. What we want to do is we want to reverse this process so that you first of all see what's happening on the board, who's threatening you, what can be captured. Only once you've seen that, then you decide, okay, I should do this move. I should do the particular move or the other one. That's the process that we are aiming to go for now. And the way to perform this is you're going to basically think these 3 questions before every move of chess that you make, from the opening all the way into the end game. We ask 3 questions. So first of all, how can I improve my position, right? I basically ask how can I make my position a little bit better? How can I hurt the opponent's position? How can I make their position on the board worse? And is there a blunder on the board that can happen? Let's talk a little bit about each of these. So how can I improve my position? So that is there a move that I can make that will help me control more squares on the board? So for example, When white has made the move bishop b to b5, right, this move right here, he basically thought my bishop will now have a better ray against the king, this king, because he may attack me and I'll eventually move here over this move. But in general, the first question, how can I improve my position? How can I capture more squares over the board? First question. The second question is, how can I hurt his position? How can I hurt his position basically relates to how could I then make his pieces control less squares. So basically, could I then take some of his pieces and move them back, as an example? And the third one, most important, is literally just asking, is there a blunder on the board? Is there a blunder on the board? For example, a piece that is hanging, and that includes in it pawns, it includes kings, it includes everything. Is there a piece which is hanging right now on the board that can be captured? It is actually that simple to stop these blunders. Again, I'll repeat this. How can I improve my position? How can I hurt my opponent's position, meaning the opposite of moving his pieces back? And the third one is there a blunder on? That's all it is. It's 3 questions. It will take a while to get used to asking it before every move that you make, but that needs to be something that repeats itself before making a move in chess. Now, if we put ourselves in Black's mind, thinking, how can we improve then our own position from basic principles of the opening? Well, I maybe could develop a piece somewhere, move this knight, right? It gets directly spawned, maybe something like this. Doesn't matter really, but you'd probably think about something, moving the bishop to d7, maybe, or doing something along the lines of castling, something normal. But then what you wouldn't do is move the pawn to e5, right? Pawn, you're basically giving away, right? Which is part of the third question. Is there a blunder on the board, aka a hanging piece? White could just take my pawn, which would be here. You see where this is coming from? It's not that you're going to get the correct answer immediately, it's that you would get rid of all the incorrect ones first. And then basically you get this question, is there a blunder on the board? And you'd realize that if you went here, it could take a pawn, and also move you back, and basically you've just lost the pawn advantage that you've had because you were up a pawn. Let's now think about this again. How can we as Black improve our own position from the problem that we've just faced? How can we hurt White's position? So that's the second question. And for all the moves that you're thinking about, is there a blunder on the board? Well, there's a very obvious move that now we see in an afterthought to the knight here. Okay, you're gonna move the knight. The knight will control more squares against white. That's an example of a candidate move. Okay, what else can we see? I don't see anything but this, and then also actually moving the bishop. And in case you're wondering, this knight is not against the white square on d5 because it's pinned by the bishop. So if, for example, a knight would be here, he'll try to attack us from here. Try to imagine this in your mind. If our knight will be here, our pawn will be here, their pawn will be here. This knight, we can just trade with a bishop, and then they couldn't take our knight. Okay, this knight is pinned. So we can move a knight here, for example, and then we also think about moving the bishop here. I don't see anything else, to be honest. I don't think about anything else, to be honest. I'm just having these two thoughts. How can I hurt his position? I don't really see a way that I can make him control less. If I, for example, do this, he'll just take my knight here, and I'll have then double pawns. So not that good. Two moves that I see are this one and this one. That's it, really. I don't see much else. So thinking about these questions, we have now 2 candidate moves that we were thinking about. We have knight here to d5, and we have the bishop to j4 that we were thinking about. From these moves, now we are basically doing the blunder check. If I make the move bishop here, is there a... And I imagine this in my head, if the bishop will be here, is there a blunder on the board? And I get the answer that yes, there will be. If my bishop is here, he could take my knight. So I discard this move, and then the only move that I think about, the only viable move is knight here. That's how I get to avoid annoying blunders like bishop to g4, right? So I do the knight here. So moving back to the second example that we've talked about. So again, how can I improve my position? It's the end game. I can't really make my position that better in terms of positional understanding. So how can I hurt my opponent's position? Again, it's the end game. It's a little bit more difficult in here. Then I think about this move. I think about this move, and of course I can see that the bishop is under attack. But then I envision in my mind, I don't see it yet on the board, that if I move my pawn here, and if he takes, then I think about it in here. Is there a blunder in here? And I see that actually the answer is yes, because then he could just move his rook all the way back. And now he's fine and I've lost the piece. I see what will happen if I make this move. I discard it. And I think, okay, well then my bishop is simply under attack. There's no idea in here. I need to move my bishop back. That's how you see how this process of thinking goes. I make a move. I see that it's a blunder. I elaborate on it. Then, because I see that it's a blunder, I discard this move and I move on with the other moves that I think about. So, what can you take from this example then, for you? When you're playing all of your games, think about this thinking process that we've talked about. Okay, every player in chess has some form of process that goes through their mind when they're making these moves. The better you are at chess, the more natural it's going to be for you, and you less need to actively think about this. Right now, because you probably don't yet have a thinking process like this, you need to think about that particular one in every move that you make. Literally from the beginning to the end game, and also for the puzzles that you're going to do later on. That's usually how it happens. So if you want to take anything from this, literally after this video, don't try to watch other chess videos on how to get better. Go to chess.com, and for the next game, for the next three games, whether you win or you lose, it's fine, but keep this thinking process in your mind. This way, you're going to then prevent more blunders, and by preventing more blunders, you're going to then have a higher likelihood of winning each game, which then will lead you to improving at chess from beginner levels. If you have any questions about this thinking process or about these two examples, leave them in the description below. Then I'm going to soon then release a roadmap that will basically lead you all the way from like beginner all the way into 1700. So you'll basically reach a better level than most players. That's it for this video. If you have any questions, again, leave them in the description. Thank you very much for coming across this video, which by the way shows that you are much likelier to level up in the next games when you're going to go back into your regular games. Keep this in mind when you play chess. Comment every question that you have. I will answer all of them. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.